After the split reception of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, the studio wanted to go back to the roots of the franchise since part 2 was spoof, parody, dark comedy sequel. They wanted a film that makes Leatherface the primary character and they wanted it to be scary again. But did they succeed? Let's talk about it. Texas Chainsaw 3 begins with a couple friends. Sometimes they come off as a couple, sometimes they come off as friends. It's an odd pairing. Wikipedia claims they're a couple, so I assume they're a couple. But they're traveling their way through Texas when they need to stop for gas, like in the original film, which is a real back to the basics for the franchise there. But at this gas station, they run into a character named Tex, who is a cowboy-esque character, which throughout the film saves them from a real creeper who was taking pictures of them, watching them at the gas station. And on their way away from the gas station, they get told by Tex to take a little side road. It's quicker to get to where they're going, so they're like, he kind of saved us from this creeper dude, so why not trust him? So when traveling down the little rinky-dink road, they almost crash into another vehicle driven by a survivalist. Meanwhile, Leatherface and the Sawyer family is lurking about, watching, waiting. Thinking about it, it kind of reminds me of the remake of Hills Have Eyes, which I love that movie, but I didn't think about that till just now. And after watching this, I was rather shocked by the poor fan reception. Critically, I can understand because they're usually not very fond of horror movies, but fans are pretty yo 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 go 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 for horror, and I was shocked by the poor fan reception because I rather enjoyed it. Is it great? No. Is it a train wreck? Far from it. The film opens with one of my favorite scenes in the franchise so far. We get to see Leatherface actually crafting his skin mask, and I'm like, hell yes, finally, because he wears various masks throughout the first two movies, and we never see him cutting someone's face off. And it's cool to see him making and carving and crafting and cutting a new face for him. Another cool thing, I really liked him wearing a leg brace where he cuts his leg in the original movie, which points to part 2 not being canon, which makes sense since, the Sawyer family kind of bites the dust in part 2. But outside of Leatherface, does this film have any good qualities? Well, I particularly like the new Sawyer family. Grandpa's back. And they introduce a few new characters like a new mother character, a little girl, stuff like that. And it's also hinted at like Leatherface has sex with the females they capture. So I'm assuming they're like also like an inbred redneck Texas family. Now I could be interpreting what the character said wrong, but that just what it comes off to me. But for me, those are the brightest aspects. What are some of the issues that I have with it? It's just bland visually and how the story plays out. It's everything we've seen before in the franchise. Also, for a slasher film, the kills are toned down, but I don't really blame the film for that because the MPAA kept giving them an X rating, so they kept cutting gore and the kills to shreds, no pun intended, just to get an R rating, which that happened a lot in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, specifically with Friday the 13th. That happened to almost all the Friday the 13th movies, so I get it. It's just a shame that I'm sure that they had some really gnarly kills that we didn't see. And the final 20 minutes essentially turn into an action movie. Like, there's multiple fight scenes that just boil down to fisticuffs. After a slight chase scene, there's guns and explosions. It's a little odd that they wanted to go, like back to basics, back to being scary. And like during the final act, they just yeet that completely out the window. And it becomes like an action movie almost, which I wouldn't mind seeing like an action horror movie. Not just make Expendables, but with slasher villains. Like get like Freddy and Jason and Michael Myers and Chucky and Pennywise and just be like, yeah, go kill people and go nuts. I would watch that. But overall, despite its flaws, I still highly enjoyed myself watching it. I had more fun watching part 3 than part 2, which still boggles my mind because part 2 is everything I should have loved, but I just didn't. So, what are your thoughts on Texas Chainsaw 3? Feel free to tell me in the comments below. But like always, thanks for watching. Keep trying to do better and keep being good people.